What's up, y'all? Kyle Hamilton here. I want to give a quick shout out to Lucas, Connor, and Ryan in the Week Zero podcast.
Jackson rolling out, 3rd and 7 after the penalty, and it's a completion to Kuma. He's still running. Kuma breaks free against a tire defense as the Hokies deliver the dagger here in Tallahassee. Empty look for Richardson. Oh, that is danger! Oh my! Keidron Smith cuts inside, and he's gonna six it in the swamp. Cat scratch fever Smith.
DJ is picked off, intercepted again by Benjamin Morrison. Here goes Morrison down the sideline. Can he go? Yes, he can. Touchdown, pick six, Benjamin Morrison. Nix drops back underneath. Touchdown, Bucks. Wow. Chase Porter.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another live episode of the Gold Standard. I am your host, Ryan Frable, with my buddy Sean from the ND Forever Twitter page. How's it going, Sean?
Good, man. Good, man. Exciting. It's Notre Dame Day. It's St. Patrick's Day, a perfect day to do a Notre Dame-related episode, so I'm excited.
It definitely is. I know we've got a lot going on right now with the NCAA tournament. We were talking before the show went live, Purdue dropping to Farley Dickinson, as we call them in South Bend, Purdue. They just can't ever win. So, anyway, Sean, we got a few Notre Dame things to talk about. It's been a little, lazy in terms of Notre Dame news coming out. But anyway, before we get into that, how have you been? I know we've taken a 2-week, vacation almost, it seems like. So what have you been up to and how you been doing, man?
Good, man. I just moving. We're moving here in 2-3 weeks to Georgia, so it's been a busy few weeks as we get closer to heading down there from Alaska, but that's pretty much all we've been doing is moving, watching a ton of March Madness, and just relaxing before Drake is up on Miami.
Yep.
I actually picked them. I picked Drake to beat Miami in my bracket. Probably
the ACC is just not that good. Our buddy Josh here is my one of my co-hosts on the Week Zero podcast. Got too busy tonight for our show we were supposed to do tonight. But what's going on, Josh? Hope work was worth missing the show. But anyway, we got our boy Maze in here as well, and Sippy. So thank you guys for tuning in. So anyway, starting off, we can kind of get into the Brandon Hillman news that kind of came out earlier this week. Asked out of his national letter of intent at Notre Dame. I kind of know what happened, but first, your thoughts on losing Brandon Hillman in the class of 2023 and how much you think that impacts this class? Yeah. And then secondly, how do you, what all, and from what you know, what all happened?
Yeah, I remember when you messaged me about it and you were like, what? Like, I was shocked too when I first saw it. After reading on it. At first, I was like, why would he want to leave? There's nowhere else really that would be necessarily a fit for him. Everything I've read, people like Mike Singer have said he's from this class, the perfect definition of a Notre Dame guy. From most, even over like likes of Drake Bowen. People have been just hyping him up with his talent, and then when I saw most of the people saying it was grade related, that Marcus Freeman told him that he needed to, while he signed his NLI, bring the grades up in order to stay with the team, and he didn't. So that's why he was released from the NLI. It made more sense to me. My first reaction was, are we still doing this? Are we still being the type of school that can't get recruits because of that grades? But we still have a good class. We still have two good safeties and Schuler and Ben. So safety is weak going into the season, you could argue, with depth, but it wasn't as big of an impact to say as if we were to lose Kenny Menchie, or if we were to lose like a Jayden Greathouse or something. You know what I'm saying? What were your thoughts on it when you heard the news?
Yeah, at first I was when I found out. Before I knew anything, I thought it was just more of like he's one of those kids that waits till the last second to kind of pull out his NILI. Kind of like what Jaden Rashada did, but Jaden Rashada, I believe, did it like a couple weeks after signing day, if I'm not mistaken. So I just kind of felt like it was a little later in the process for him to be doing that, because I don't really know where else he's going to go. I'm pretty sure the official signing day passed, so I don't know really how that works. How he can just go to a different school, or
it's a very situation as what Payne did signing with us last year. He already signed his NLI with Indiana, I believe. And he got out of his NLI and came to Notre Dame. So it's not too late in the process for him to sign anywhere. He'll probably just be a fall enrollee rather than a spring enrollee.
I know that, and my first reaction, because people were freaking out all over Twitter, Notre Dame fans said, Notre Dame needs to lower the standards, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't think, I've never been the type that says, I don't think Notre Dame needs to less their standards, because from what I understand, they kind of have from where they used to be. But Notre Dame has this, I believe, the second best education program in America, only behind, I believe it's Stanford or Harvard, one of the two. So I think that in terms of that, like, it obviously takes a special kind of kid to go to school at Notre Dame. Like, I was a 3.6, GPA in high school, and was basically a B+ to A student, and that still wasn't enough to get into Notre Dame. So, yeah. Obviously you have to be somewhat smart to get into Notre Dame. Maybe he just wasn't a fit academically. I love what the kid could have bring. I didn't really even know that he was going to be transitioned to safety. My first thought was, at the time when he signed, was quarterback first, and then receiver. Well, not like he was going to be a quarterback, but I know that Freeman had told him, we'll give you a shot wherever you want to start.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know he specifically wanted to play quarterback. That was before Kenny Menchie flipped. So I was like kind of excited about him. And then I heard wide receiver, running back. And then I hear corner, safety. So, and if I'm being honest, I think Ben Minnick and Aiden Schuler, at least for safety, are better than him right now. They've kind of grew up playing that position already. And if I'm ranking, like, I'm going down the list and I'm looking at like what Notre Dame needs, and I'm going based off of position of most importance on this roster, safety is really far down on that list. Now, is safety a weakness for this team? Yes. But we had Kyle Hamilton, who, in my opinion, is the best safety to ever put on a gold helmet, and maybe a top 5 safety in all of college football history. And a safety position is just not. Let's just say this: you don't need the best safety in the world to win a college football championship. Georgia won back-to-back championships with their lone weakness on defense being their back end. Their back end, beside not the corners, but their safeties were really bad. That's why they got cooked at times, and they were able to hide that weakness by having a dominant defensive line, dominant corners, and really good linebacker cores. So I'm not too mad about it. It's not like we don't have any safeties that can play. Ben Minnick is a freak athlete and is super fast. Aiden Schuler was obviously, I think he was just a little underrated because he came from New Jersey. But I'm not too worried about safety. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think out of anybody we could afford to lose on this class, I think Brendan Hillman was one of those guys that he was just more of like a cherry on top kind of guy.
Yeah.
Instead of a guy that, hey, we need him.
Yeah. I mean, I saw some of his. I mean, he's super talented. I think like more ready. I agree. Schuler and others will, not. But I do think that Brandon is more gifted athletically. So I think the potential was higher for Brandon, but it happens. I wish the kid luck. He's going to be a star wherever he goes. And for safety this year, Xavier Watts starting at one side, I'm pretty excited for, but I love Ramon Henderson, so I think we're going to be fine with him.
I think Ramon has been good. I know he played good in those 6 games, I believe, that Kyle Hamilton was out. He stepped up and played a vital role. DJ Brown is still a playable backup. Yep. And then you also got to think, I believe Tariq Bracy is going to be kind of switching between safety and slot. So, I don't know.
Transfer Harper from Oklahoma State.
Thomas Harper as well. So I'm not too worried about safety, if I'm being honest. I would be more worried about the defensive line for Notre Dame this year. I think if you look at a weakness because the players we have are, not good, but just more they're unproven.
I just think it's opportunity, right?
Opportunity. Yeah.
Every year people are like, yikes, the position I'm least comfortable with is the O-line or the which I never understand why people are nervous about O-line play when they
Notre Dame.
Yeah. Even if it's average, it's still better than most schools. But it's we're young there, right? People have been begging for Jordan Botelho to play. He's probably going to be our starting Viper, right? You still got super. We just got the safety. Defensive end from Ohio State.
Yep.
All right, so he's going to be probably a rotational guy, but if he can earn the starting job, that'd be awesome. And then we're young in the middle, right? We got players like Rubio, Cross, Tyson Ford, Brennan Vernon, right? This is what we've been waiting for, right? To see our young talent, right?
I think this is the year we see Riley. If this is the year where Riley Mills has to become the alpha. Become the alpha along that defensive line. He was supposed to be that this year, and he showed flashes of it. But then there were games where you're kind of like, where's Riley Mills?
That's like
where's he at? Yeah, like Foskey was kind of like that until last year. Foskey kind of
the year his junior year, before his junior, when he was a sophomore, people saw it's kind of the same with Prince Colley in a sense too, because you like to see the flashes, but he's not on the field enough, right? I don't know. I'm not worried about the defensive line. I'm not worried about talent and play on the defensive line. I'm nervous about the experience of the defensive line.
We've got a lot of
going
young guys.
into a game like Ohio State. Are they going to run the ball down our throats with Riley Mills and maybe Tyson Ford starting as a freshman redshirt and a junior? And I don't. the experience is the only worrisome. But on the bright side, you know what? Experience is the only way you're going to get experience, right? So I don't know. I do think I've read a lot about, a lot of these schools have already started spring practice. Notre Dame hasn't started yet, right? They're starting here shortly.
I know they've started like training, but I don't think they've actually started
They've
practice
started
yet.
practice. I'm ready for that. That's going to be the key to seeing probably by the fall who is going to be our starting defensive, who's going to be at least the big main point on the defensive line, right? And Botello, right? I just he's starting a Viper, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. He's maybe Niafautu Alamaka, right? But I'd prefer him being rotating guy right now, how young he is with Jordan. So,
I mean, I'm excited, dude. I mean, I know we haven't started spring ball yet in terms of on-field practice, but it's got to be hype seeing Sam Hartman out there benching. I'm like, when's the last time you seen a Notre Dame quarterback bench 300 pounds?
Brady Quinn, maybe, I don't know. It makes me nervous though. I talk to my wife and I'm like, Hartman's probably going to win the job. He's, and she's like, what about Bucky? She knows I'm a big Tyler Buckner fan, and I'm like, I still am hanging on to hope with Tyler Buckner, and hopefully they give it to the best quarterback there. But everything I've read about Hartman,
I think it's a good sign. That there was an article that Blue and Gold came out with, I believe, a couple days ago, where Buckner spoke about his relationship with Sam Hartman, and he basically said it's more of like a mentor role instead of. He said he said I realize I'm in a competition with the guy, but it doesn't feel like he's a guy. Like our relationship, it doesn't feel like we're two guys that are fighting for a job. If that makes sense. Sam Hartman has kind of taken that entire quarterback room under his wing, kind of teaching them things, teaching them to read defenses, pointing stuff out. I think Tyler even said in the article that they've been watching film together, and Hartman's been trying to help him point out bad decisions he's made. Which is, I like that. Sam, when you get a quarterback like that in college football, that has the cachet that Sam Hartman does. You usually get the type of guys that are like, have the ego. I'm better than you. I understand I'm better than you. Don't like to be, the kind of mentor that a lot of these kids need. So that's where I think Buckner is going to improve a ton. Even if he doesn't win the job, I think not only battling with a quarterback of the caliber of Sam Hartman, but getting to sit behind him for a year and learning from him can do wonders for Buckner's confidence. I think, and I also think that's going to help Kenny Minchie develop. That's going to help Stephen Jelly develop.
Which will eventually help.
Yes, and I think that, and I think about what that impact could have on CJ Carr when he gets there. And Buckner can teach him the things that he learned from Sam Hartman. Yeah. I think that'll do wonders. And from everything I read, Tyler Buckner seems like he's completely okay with if he doesn't win the job. He understands that he's going to get the job next year. So
yeah, he better understand that. He better understand that he needs to stay. And it's funny that I think I read an article too that Hartman said him and Tyler were practically best friends.
Yeah. They're, like I said, that whole entire quarterback room, Kenny Minchie exclaimed it as they're just like a family. So I like it. I love Sam Hartman. I already love what he's doing. He's changing the culture there.
The receivers have said great things. The receivers have said.
A.T. Perry, funny enough, they did an interview with him, and they asked him like, "Hey, you play with Sam Hartman for 4 years. What is Notre Dame getting in a guy in Sam Hartman?" He said, "You're getting a championship level quarterback who not only is going to be a championship level quarterback on the field, but off the field as well." And he even said, "If I wouldn't be the player I am if it wasn't for Sam Hartman."
Wow.
So he said, and they asked him, so like, if there's one thing you would tell the receivers at Notre Dame about Sam Hartman, and he's like, yeah, for sure. He's like, he's not your typical quarterback that you see in college. He said, when I first got to Wake Forest and we started running routes, I had to realize that that this guy kid actually has an arm on him. I have to be in the right place. Like, I can't just jog on routes. I have to actually like run through routes. I got to be right where I'm supposed to be. And he said, I learned if I run my routes how I'm supposed to be, Hartman's going to find me for a touchdown. That's just how it, and that's what he learned. And so I think coming from a guy like A.T. Perry, that says volumes because he's probably going to be a second, third round pick in the draft. That guy's a beast. So I'm I'll tell you what, I'm excited. But
if Hartman breaks out in a post, because I remember people were saying just because he was in the slow mesh, he could be like a 6th, maybe 7th round pick. If he breaks out, dude looks like a grown ass man. Like, that dude is a beast. If he breaks out, let's say has a great 30 touchdown, normal year or something, and in a pro style offense, you think he could be a 1st, 2nd, maybe 3rd, 4th round pick? Like
if he balls out at Notre Dame, and he doesn't even necessarily have to win all the games against Ohio State, USC, and Clemson, but if he has like 4, 5 touchdown passes against USC, Clemson, Ohio State, and he looks like that, he's got to be a 1st or at least 2nd round pick.
I just don't see us like. I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't. I mean, we have the.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that. I mean, it's almost weird thinking about a quarterback for Notre Dame throwing for 5 touchdowns.
Drew Pine.
It's so rare.
I get it. It's like I don't know. It's like, are they going to rely on him like that though? With the 3-headed running back room, when we're in the red zone, are we just going to use some Buckner?
I think eventually, it's in some games you're going to have to, because the MO when Notre Dame plays these, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, the Bamas, is they're going to stack the box because they know that's Notre Dame's strength is running the ball. So I think what Sam Hartman brings is a guy that those teams can't do that anymore. You put 8 guys in the box against Notre Dame with Sam Hartman at quarterback, you're going to get cooked alive. Yeah. So I think teams are going to start doing that. I think that's what Ohio State's game plan is going to be. That game, I definitely think they're going to try to stack the box, limit Estime and Diggs' efficiency. And I think that's that first game, at least, I think Hartman's going to throw for at least 4 touchdowns.
Well, speaking of Ohio State, there was some news that came out today.
Yeah. Wearing the green jerseys, which that's another knock I had on Brian Kelly, is that we didn't wear green enough.
Yeah.
I always loved the green jerseys. My favorite is still the one from 2005 that we wore against USC, which I'm kind of getting a little tired of the green jerseys we've wore the last couple years with the the blue lettering and the green and the gold trim. I kind of want them to change it up a little bit because it's just kind of getting a little stale. I'd like to see them bring back the white uniforms with the green numbers,
green lettering,
and the gold trim. I think those would look so nice.
Yeah, they wouldn't use that at a home game though.
Why not? Why not?
You know the rules. White.
I know, but
it's right.
I mean, technically, we were the home team when we played BYU, and we were all whites. Yeah.
I mean, Shamrock Series this year is interesting. We don't know when and where it's going to be, right? So,
are they even doing Shamrock this year? I would assume it'd have to be Ireland, right?
I would assume the neutral sites are usually Shamrock Series, so I'm hoping that they do it in Dublin.
But they won't unveil.
Imagine if they had like the green, orange, and white flag, or like for the uniform for Ireland or something. I don't know.
If they pull out those old, like the ones we had when we played Miami, like in what was it? Those were so gross.
The Ian.
It was the one we played. We played Miami, Florida, in where was it? I think it might have been in maybe it was Chicago, maybe it was Soldier Field, maybe it was in Ireland. I don't know. But we played Miami one year, and it was the year when we had the gloves that were the Ireland colors, and I was like,
Yes,
yeah,
dude.
those were.
But
Ugh.
I've seen a lot of backlash about announcing the green jerseys. They're like, people wanted USC. I mean, I'm going to the USC game. It would have been pretty cool, but like, imagine like not telling Ohio State. Everyone's like going to be there. They run out the tunnel and they're in green jerseys, shocking Ohio State. They're like deers in the headlights. I get it. I get why people want that as like a surprise tactic, but here's the thing, you just can't do that. Like, I know people are complaining about that, but you have to announce Irish wear green because you want the crowd to wear green too. You want everywhere to be green, and if you don't plan that, it's not going to happen. So if you want,
Which I'm mad because I bought. I'm pissed because I bought a Sam Hartman jersey, and it's the navy blue, and I could have got the green. And I'm like, you guys literally announced that the day after I buy a Sam Hartman jersey. I'm like, I'm not getting the green one now.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think Ohio State's the perfect game to do green jerseys.
Yes.
I think we beat Ohio State.
I do too. So. I'm just glad we're not doing it against some terrible team. That like we wore the green ones against Cal last year. We wore it against Florida State when they were terrible. We wore them against Boston College in 2016. I mean, like, I feel like if you're going to pull out the green jerseys, it has to be in a primetime game against somebody.
Florida State usually, I mean, they're a pretty historic program. Boston College is a rival. I get those, but like BYU, oh no, that means the Shamrock Series. But like California, I
wear green for that.
I was just glad they did it, though. It's just nice to see them do it. I just feel like when you think of green, you think Notre Dame. So why weren't they wearing green the past few years, right? So it needs to be a yearly thing, and I hope and I think that's what we're seeing is Marcus Freeman transition this to a yearly thing. And I know you said you're sick and tired of the green jerseys, but I'm not yet. They still
I'm not sick of the green jerseys. I just wish they would change it up.
Yeah,
like kind of what they do with the Shamrock. Give us new green jerseys every year.
I just feel like that's too much if we're getting the Shamrock and green jerseys. I don't know if they would change.
But I mean, like, look what Ohio State does. Ohio State has a game a year where they either wear their blackout jerseys, and they've even gotten. I know a lot of people in college football would be like, "Oh, well, it's not the traditional jerseys. You can't do that at Notre Dame." I've always said it would look so sick for Notre Dame to have blackout jerseys. Like,
I thought they were going to do that against BYU. Because the Raiders, they usually do the pro teams, like they did the Bears for Wisconsin. They did the Yankees for when they were in New York against Syracuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or when they played Wisconsin Soldier Field. I thought they were going to be like the Raiders black being the new Las Vegas team. It didn't happen, obviously. But
you know how sick it would look? And I know people are like, well, you got to wear the gold helmet just for a game. Like, pull out a matte black helmet with the gold Notre Dame logo on it, like the ND on the side, just in all gold, and then have all black uniforms with gold numbers. Like, I know people, oh, that reminds me of Purdue. I mean, obviously Purdue's a rival, but I like their color scheme. I always thought gold and black just has like a different, it just hits different. Yeah. Same as like white and gold. Gold and white go really good together too. But obviously I don't think it would be something that Brian Kelly or anyone else would previously do because they're like, we're just going to be the normal navy and gold. But with Marcus Freeman trying to make Notre Dame cool, that's one way to make them cool is start making some new uniform concepts. I've seen some really cool uniform concepts for Notre Dame that if they ever did it, would look amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, I guess going to our last thing before we get out of here, talking about Mike Brey. Obviously, he's done at the University of Notre Dame. Probably looks like he's going to be the new head coach at Georgetown, which best of luck to you at Georgetown. Notre Dame is still not hired a new head coach. The plan is that they'll hire him after the tournament. But from my understanding, they haven't even interviewed anybody. They have candidates in mind, but they're not even going to start the interview process until after the tournament. So we've seen the aftermath of that. JJ Starling, the best Notre Dame recruit, and the Mike Brey era. The only 5-star Mike Brey ever had. One and done, not to the NBA, but one and done, and then transferring to Syracuse.
Imagine that in football. Like, imagine being a 5-star recruit, go to Syracuse. Like Jalen Sneed. Like, I would be pissed.
And then we see, Dom Campbell, who, no disrespect to Mike Brey, but Dom Campbell should have been playing more this year. The dude looks like he could play on the football team right now as a freshman. And then we lost but 2 of our 3 recruits for the 2023 cycle. We've only got 1 left. We have 3 scholarship athletes right now for next year. Consider another one if our current recruit stays, which I hope so. And other than that, we don't even have enough guys to put a starting 5 on the floor. Where do you view Notre Dame going from here? Obviously, it looks like they're going to have to build the roster from the transfer portal. And it's probably not going to be very fun to watch over the next couple seasons.
Yeah.
So what do you think's going on with Notre Dame, and where do you see this heading?
It's going to be a dumpster fire. I wouldn't be surprised. I hope they don't. I feel like if they hire a new coach and they suck after a few years, he's going to end up being fired. Just give him time. This is a really hard rebuild, right? It shouldn't be hard at Notre Dame, but it's going to be. Like you said, 3 scholarship players, and they're gonna have to hit the transfer portal. There's no other way. Hopefully, they get some young guys to develop over the years, not some old guys that aren't gonna do anything, through a rebuild. But they need numbers. And this ain't ground 1. Like, this is ground 0. Like, this is a rebuild. It is going to take years before we can start talking about making a March Madness tournament.
And we're not only talking about scholarship guys that were rotation players. These 3 scholarship guys were bench guys for 3 years.
Yeah.
So, you lose. It sounds like Van Allen Lubin is the next domino to kind of fall for Notre Dame, which is sad because I think Van Allen Lubin is an amazing talent. When you lose Blake Wesley after 1 year at Notre Dame, and then you turn around and you waste JJ Starling and Dom Campbell and Van Allen Lubin, and you lose all those guys, and then you focus your whole team around 6th year, 7th year seniors, this is what the aftermath is. Which is, I think, another reason that it was time for Brey to go, because I think he fell in love too much with the 6th year, the 5th year guys, instead of focusing on the guys like Blake Wesley, JJ Starling, Van Allen Lubin, Dom Campbell, when those guys are probably going to go somewhere else and do a lot of damage somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I was so frustrated with this team this year, is because I would watch JJ Starling get 20 points easily every game, just 20 points. And it was almost like, and he scored those 20 points while not being the focal point of the offense.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Brey, you're losing games. You have a 5-star freshman that you put in the starting lineup, and you're forcing him to defer to Cormac Ryan, Nate Laszewski, and these other guys on the floor. I understand that Cormac Ryan and Nate Laszewski have been the guys the last couple of years, but JJ Starling, this is his team at that point. When you're losing games and Cormac Ryan is not getting it done, Nate Laszewski's not getting it done, and the only one doing anything is JJ Starling, that's when, as a coach, you go, okay, JJ Starling, carry us to victory, and he never did that. He always made him like defer, which I could tell JJ probably didn't like. So it's just very frustrating, and I really hope Notre Dame basketball can at least be relevant again at some point soon.
Yeah, I just feel like I agree. He's too in love with this play. I mean, I think he knew he was retiring, and he was close with those guys. So he's like, let's all just have one last fun ride, you know? Let's all just – I don't think he really cared about developing then. He knew he was done, right? I think he was just like, we're going to ride this out, all of us to the sunset, right? So it's crazy to think, what if Wesley didn't declare for the draft? Like what would this team look like this year?
Which I think he declared way too early. I mean,
I agree. But
he was really good.
Would he have been drafted if he stayed back? Would Notre Dame have been good, right?
I think if he stays back, and I think if he's on this team, I didn't realize how much of last year's success, beating Alabama, which is crazy to think about, that we beat Alabama. It basically has the same roster they did last year, and they're the number 1 overall seed. We beat them last year. We also beat Rutgers last year, who was a borderline tournament team this year. We almost beat Texas Tech. We probably should have beat Texas Tech if it wasn't for the officials in that game. But it's just weird to think. I never realized how much of an impact Blake Wesley had in that tournament run last year. And I thought Cormac Ryan had a great tournament last year, but to see how bad he was this year, was it Blake Wesley? Was that the only reason we even made the tournament last year? I mean,
yeah.
And if you're Mike Bray, I know he said when Blake left that, we want the best for the kids, but I would have been straight up, hey, Blake, I really don't think you're – obviously, the NBA didn't even think he was ready. They drafted him in the first round for the Spurs, and he was spent most of this year with the G League team. So, I don't know. Like, I understand he's getting money. He's getting a paycheck to play in the G League and all that, but still, could you imagine J.J. Starling and Blake Wesley on the same floor together? I mean, that would be nasty.
I think it would have taken a lot of pressure off Cormac as well.
I think Cormac's the type of guy that's not meant to be the number 1.
Oh yeah.
If he's the number 2, because I think Cormac would be perfect if all his job is to shoot and play defense. Cormac can do that, but I don't think he can be the guy that can score for you. Can initiate the offense, play defense 24/7, rebound, because we couldn't rebound the last couple of years either. I just don't think that's too much to ask for him. I just hope Marcus Burton, who is our only, recruit for this year that's left. I know a lot of fans are excited about him. He's got a lot of buzz around him, at least in the NBA. So I just hope that he comes in and he sticks. And at that point, I think the new coach has to realize Marcus Burton's going to be your best player as a true freshman. You need to build around that. You need to make him the focal point of the team and let him just see how far he can get you.
Well, imagine if they made the tournament next year. Could you imagine?
Oh God, with Marcus Burton being the point guard as a freshman. I mean,
he'd be gone after 1 year, I bet.
He'd probably be gone. The thing is, like, how are you going to get – so how many teams – you can 11 guys, 12 guys on the NCAA roster? How are you guys going to get 8 more guys to transfer? That's a whole basketball team.
Some St. Petersburg type of.
I joke, hey man, just go to the YMCA, have a bunch of guys from South Bend go out there and see what they could do. It can't be any worse than Louisville was this year. So,
never know. Maybe they'll find a star on the side in South Bend. That'd be awesome. That'd be a story.
Hey, we got a 30-year-old playing on the basketball team. But no, man, like it's crazy to think that we we are only, 6 years, 7 years removed from Notre Dame making the back-to-back Elite Eights. No, we're 6 years away from back-to-back Elite Eights. And then not making
It was the
that.
Kentucky that was crazy.
I mean, that's got to be one of the worst downfalls of a program that didn't change a coach in that time span. I mean,
It was this.
I know Mike Bray had even admitted himself that maybe he thought he lost a little bit of his excitement towards coaching basketball. But if that's the case, then why are you willing to go to Georgetown to be the new head coach there? I
Maybe
mean,
fresh will help him get his energy back. I mean,
if you think Notre Dame's a hard job, Georgetown's a lot harder because you're playing in the Big East, which is a hell of a lot harder conference to win than the ACC is right now. And, maybe recruiting's a little easier at Georgetown than at Notre Dame, but, I mean, Georgetown right now is a dumpster fire as well. They've lost basically their entire roster. So, you're just leaving one dumpster fire for another. So, at that point, I would just retire. I'm done.
yeah, he should retire.
But any other thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I agree. It's going to be a crazy rebuild. Mike Bray should retire, and it's going to be a long time till we see Notre Dame in a tournament for basketball.
Maybe the NIT. Maybe the NIT.
Maybe the NIT.
Maybe a first-round exit in the NIT.
Nah, I wouldn't even watch.
But all right, well, that's been a good show. I know we took 2 weeks off, but we'll be back next week, same time as usual, 8:30 Central Time. But anyway, I'm your host, Ryan Fravel. This has been the Gold Standard with my co-host, Sean from Indy Forever. Go ahead and follow us on the socials. Let me pull that up really quick. Go over to follow us on Twitter, at Fravel_Ryan and at Indy_4_ever_. And all right, we will see you guys next week. And as always, go Irish.